I worked at a golf course for like 5 years. I think it's good to be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because it is
It's
full
loaded.
with a lot of people.
Like a teacher? I don't know. Announcements out.
Calling the meeting to order. Pursuant to Rhode Island general laws, any persons being discussed or affected were given notice of the executive meeting in writing and advised that they may require such discussion be held at an open meeting. No request has been made. I'll now entertain a motion to convene into executive session to discuss the items just mentioned, as well as have legal counsel provide legal advice to the committee. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Calling the meeting to order. And we will do the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There were no votes taken in executive session other than ending our executive session meeting and convening into open session again. Is there a motion to seal the executive session minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. I'll entertain a motion to move up item 5 under action items. Consider and vote to approve 4 new administrators' contracts. Superintendent, is that correct?
Do you want to do the consent agenda first, or it's all right? Because they're in here.
Is there a motion to approve, is there a motion to move up that item, item 5 under action items, underneath the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Next item, please.
Next item is consent agenda.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? And just to clarify, that does not include the vote for the contracts that we just moved up from action items.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
So the district is very excited to announce the appointment of 4 new administrators for the East Providence School District. If you'd like to come up and introduce yourself to the committee, when I call your name, we'd love to have you come up. Soledad Barreto is the new principal at Kent Heights Elementary School, effective 8/16/23. Congratulations, we're very excited to have you. Soledad comes from Providence.
Good evening. My name's Soledad Barreto. I'm very excited to be part of the team. I'll be going to Kent Heights.
Thank you.
Great.
You can come right up and meet the committee if you want.
Hey,
Nice to meet you.
Ryan.
Thank you.
Tony Ferrer, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Max Brino. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Next, we have Allison Amity, principal of Silver Spring Elementary School, effective 8/16/2023. Welcome. Allison is coming to us from Smithfield.
Hi, I'm Allison Amity. I'm really excited to join our team, and I will be at Silver Spring Elementary.
Next, we have Kelly Guglietti, principal at White Neck Elementary School, effective 8/16/2023, and Kelly is coming to us from Central Falls. Congratulations.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Guglietti. I am so excited to be working as the principal at White Neck. It's wonderful to meet all of you.
And last, we have Jill Usinia, assistant principal, East Providence High School, effective TBD. Jill actually did her student teaching with us, so welcome.
Hi, I'm Jill. I'll be at East Providence High School. It's nice to be back, and I'm excited.
Next item, please. Just to clarify, because I think there was potentially a misunderstanding on the moving the item, just to formally make sure that everything is done correctly, I'll entertain a vote to approve for the 4 new administrators' contracts.
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Now.
Now we can. Next item, please.
Next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Ferrand.
Would it be okay if we move up the building committee report for my friends here in the front row? I seem to spend a lot of time with now. So I'd like to make a motion to move that up before we do the superintendent's report, if possible.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Tebow, principal at AI3. With me tonight is Jonathan Quell. And what we're going to do is we're going to update the group on the 2 middle school building projects. So I don't know if, yep.
Once we get our packets, the committee members are free to move up to the audience to be able to follow along with the PowerPoint presentation, yes. Thank
Good
you.
to go? Awesome. If we go to the next slide, please. So we're here to talk about the 2 middle school projects. We'll talk about Martin as well as Riverside. We're going to start with Martin. And Again, high-level overview. A lot of this stuff is repeat from last month. Up on the screen in the second page in your packet is the overall project schedule. Again, wrapping up the final documentation the end of November, and that aligns with the RIDE regulations for funding. The main reason why we are here tonight is actually for an interim portion, and as noted in green here. So we had a conversation, couple things. We had a conversation with RIDE a couple weeks ago, and they did request a revised submission. So previously we had identified the 90% submission as a RIDE submission, and RIDE requested it to be at 60% instead. So what that does is it shifts the 60% RIDE submission to August. So we'll actually be here next month for review and approval of 60%. It just shifts the 90 to 60%. The other item that we're here tonight for is to talk about the enabling work. So as we have talked about all along, the construction sequence for Martin is going to be phased occupied construction. So there will be construction occurring with the building fully occupied. To assist the construction team and the partners at Shawmut to construct the building in a timely fashion, there was enabling work identified to safely move students through the existing building. So if you go to the next slide. As shown at the last meeting, and we'll just clarify quickly, and sort of refresh everybody's minds, the existing administration suite in the upper right here, shown in gray, is in the process of becoming offline. With the relocation of the pre-K component at Martin, it frees up the previous pre-K space on the bottom, so that is now the new main administration suite, the principal's office, SRO, etc. That makes way for the new temp main entry down at the bottom, because the construction team has identified this area in gray as an overlap of the new building and the existing building. So to safely move students from the academic houses to still utilize the gymnasium and the auditorium, there's some enabling work that needs to be completed. Previously, what we had shown is all the way on the left with a corridor across the back of the auditorium. That is essentially the second phase of this enabling work. The initial phase of the auditorium, or the enabling work, is actually right here as shown in blue, and I'll describe a little bit what it is. So that's sort of a little bit of a pivot from what was previously shown, based on timing, based on constraints, and based on further investigation. So what is proposed is outside of the auditorium, that's the back wall of the existing auditorium, is to construct a temporary wall within the corridor. So right outside the auditorium, it's the oversized corridor, the school store is there. Essentially, it's narrowing it down with a temp wall to restrict access. Contractor would have the right side, and then this line in blue would still provide access to the gymnasium component and the auditorium component for the students. So that is included in this phase 1 enabling work for the interior scope. Additionally, as previously talked about, it's the work at the new temp main entry with the relocation of doors. It's also a wall at the back of the student dining space, providing an egress corridor through that interstitial space here, allowing egress from the auditorium based on occupant load. So really this red line here is the demarcation line between construction and between the occupied spaces. So what is included for the vote tonight is the scope of work as discussed. It's everything that you have seen before, minus the back of the auditorium. That is going to be picked up through the GMP later on, once there's a little bit more fine tuning and further investigation of the existing conditions. If we go to the next slide, please. So that was the interior work. Exterior work, there is some site work, site enabling work identified. We do have identified an accessible ramp down from Brown Street, also turning Brown Street into a one-way street during pickup and drop-off times. So Brown Street would be utilized for parents. Buses would still circulate on site, again, separating buses and parents. So buses would enter the south entry, loop around, they would unload. That is the new temp main entry at the pre-K what is currently the pre-K, which will be the new entry for the middle school. They would unload here, loop around, and then exit back out onto Brown Street. So the buses would be on site, parents would be on Brown Street, separating traffic flow, alleviating a lot of the congestion possibilities. Staff parking would remain, as well as up to the northern side as well. So parking would be provided for staff. So the temp work for the enabling for the site work is minimized in a couple different reasons. One, we need to disturb less than an acre of land based on wetland restrictions, adjacencies, et cetera, until we get the full building permit. That's anticipated for this fall, but to get this enabling work done now for the start of school year of 2023-2024, we needed work done. So the site work is limited to less than an acre of land. It also limits how much impervious material you can add paving, essentially. If we add paving, which you can see in the darker shades like here, here, and here, we have to also remove it to balance it out. So there isn't an additional strain on the stormwater. So this plan here is what's been vetted and it's what's being proposed to occur this summer to allow buses to drop off on site, as well as to separate the parents and the buses for pickup and drop-off times. So that sums up the enabling work of the phase one. Next slide, please. I'm actually going to turn it over to Mr. Enos to talk quickly about what this means from a budget standpoint.
Sure. So as you can see by the total there, so this enabling work for some of the inside work and for the outside envelope work, $917,021. We're going to be asking, so all this was approved last night by the building committee. We're taking the next step tonight to ask you later on in the meeting to approve this as well. So we need this work to mobilize for next week so that we can get this interior work to be completed for the first day of school in August. So the budget estimate of $917,021 includes allowances and contingency, since there are a lot of unknowns. The project team between Peregrine, AI3, and Shawmut Construction continue to work through the details to ensure that we're keeping on the schedule and that we're really being cost efficient with all of the work. And deferring the back of the auditorium work will allow us to have more time to do some due diligence that actually needs to take place. The cost of the auditorium work is not included in the $917,000 price tag there, but it will be included in the GMP for the project. And as it stands, the legal counsels, our legal counsel and Shawmut, have exchanged the letter of intent for the agreement work to be done. So everyone has their eyes on that. Thank you.
Next slide, please. So that wraps up Martin Middle School. I'll pause there to see if there's any questions before we hop over to Riverside. Okay. Hearing none, I'll actually ask Jonathan to come up and talk about Riverside.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you. Just have a few updates. Oh, next slide, please. Just have a few updates with regard to the Riverside Middle School project with the schedule, and then also updates to the budget and renderings that we shared with you last month, which include the structural scope and FF&E furniture, fixtures, and equipment that we talked about as well. So the next few slides will get into that a little bit further. Next slide, please. As far as the schedule, we're on track to submit the final submission to RIDE, the 75% CD submission to RIDE at the end of this month, July 21st. That will be our last submission to them before releasing the bid documents in the beginning of August. And we'll again meet with you and the building committee on August 7th and August 8th to approve the release of those documents. And then that will go into the next phase of bidding and construction administration with a anticipated award of contract at the beginning of September to carry on with the work. Next slide, please. These just give you a few updates from our last meeting and presentation with the furniture. Some of the updates include soft seating and some of the serpentine furniture, flexible furniture that is included in the budget and included in the program that we've been working with our furniture consultant, and is more in reality of what would be included in the final design. This is also, if you go to the next slide, please. It also includes the reuse of the existing tables and chairs. The FF&E budget, in working with the district and talking with folks at the school, a lot of the tables and chairs, as we mentioned earlier, are in really great condition. So we're able to include those and keep those within the school and reuse those to alleviate some of the costs associated with that budget. So that's what you see in the central portion of this space, is the reuse of those tables and chairs. Next slide, please. Additionally, with the structural scope, this includes any work that would be needed for the updated storefronts at the balcony edge, like gauge metal framing. Because of the widths of the storefronts, we're able to reduce the amount of steel that's required there. In fact, just remove it completely. And then additionally, steel within the balcony for the operable wall that we're showing to separate two spaces and have it for a flexible classroom space. Next slide, please. And this just gives you an update to the science classrooms. This would be a typical science classroom for all of the 6 science classrooms that are going to be upgraded with updates to the floor, furniture. You could see the tables and chairs to the right that are being proposed. Additionally, with the casework, overhead power potentially, and then also marker board and tack board surface on the teaching wall. Next slide, please. So the budget that you see on screen currently has been updated and is reflective of our latest estimates. That again include the FF&E costs, the furniture, which is shown at the bottom line here, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and then also the structural scope, all included within this budget. And we're happy to say too that we're on budget with the cost that you see up here, with a hard cost of $2,546,000. So if you go to the next slide, please. Knowing that we're on budget and slightly under budget, we do not have to look at any value engineering items, and we can keep the scope and the design intent intact, and carry on with some of the proposed ideas that we've been reviewing with you, with the working group, and the building committee. Next slide, please. And just as give you an idea, a snapshot of what we'll be including in our next submission to RIDE would be the 75% drawing set, all the construction drawings, the specifications, and then the latest cost estimate as well. And the next slide, please. With that, if there's any questions with regard to the updates, happy to answer any of them.
Any questions or comments from the committee? You were there, sorry. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Just to confirm, does the school, do any of the school committee members have any other questions or comments in regards to the presentation? Or if you need a couple minutes, that's fine too. Tony? Tony, are you working on asking a question? Okay, that's fine. You can
Okay, no, I just
think
have a
about it, yeah.
question. I don't know who would answer this, Craig or anybody, but when we look at the Martin.
Do you want to turn on your mic so they can hear you? Yeah.
When we look at the Martin and we look at some of the numbers here for the scope, could we get that as they're being completed? If we can get, if we're in that, like we look at one of them here, say if we look at, wood flooring, $10,800, is that, as those numbers come in, can you get them to the committee so we can see if we're tracking each item? Because I see some night, when I see, the elevator, $8,500, like just to say, these are what we're presented with now, as we go through this here, each meeting, if we can have an update on a sheet, did we meet that goal, are we under that goal, or are we over that goal? I think that's very important for the committee to follow at each meeting and say, yes, we projected 37,000, but we're at 33,000 or at 42. I think it's very important with me and this committee going forwards, at each meeting we can track where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely open book. We're going to be tracking this as well. With a lot of this enabling work, as mentioned previously, there is contingency. Once you start opening up walls, you may find surprises. So, yeah, there is a good dose of contingency in there for instances like that, but we're definitely going to keep track of all of this, and we can report back where it stands based on this baseline here.
Exactly, because that's what's saying, like with that contingency, because we did the window project around the cafeteria, and we followed the original drawings, which you guys there were no set of beams there. We had to bring in a welder, and that was thousands that nobody in their right mind would think when that building was built, that structural beams weren't added around there. So if we miss things like that, we got the contingency, but I think it's important to let us know that on, a step-by-step basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yep.
And just in response to that as well, we will be getting the monthly report that is presented also to the building committee as to all those items that you see listed on there and where they are with expenses as well. So that'll be a more abbreviated, basically, way of keeping track of that on a monthly basis as well. Is that correct, Superintendent?
You get it.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the committee? Okay, next item, please.
Next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Frand.
Thank you. First item I'd like to discuss is the revised calendar for the 23-24 school year. So the presidential primary date is April 2nd, and we will need to take the day off that day. We were issued a memo from RIDE a couple of weeks ago that that's the date, and all schools need to close on that date. So the only change to the calendar at this point is that revised date of no school April 2nd, which extended the school year by one day. The other issue that I wanted to discuss was proposed new start times. So once we we have a proposed tentative agreement that will be voted on later. Once we have a final agreement, part of that contract is increasing educational minutes during the school day. So we would revise the start time for all of the schools. So we would be looking at 7:25 to 1:55 for the high school, 7:55 to 2:30 for the middle school, and 8:40 to 3:10 for the elementary school. So I will keep you updated on that, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what we were looking at, and then once it's finalized, we'll communicate that to parents. But it is an increase of 10 minutes a day.
Excuse me. I have one request, Sandy. Sandy, once we get that all finalized, can we just make sure we really put that
Oh,
out
we
there
will.
to the public? Because I mean, over a snow day when you put out there, I can picture what's gonna happen for the first couple weeks.
Right.
But as soon as it's all finalized, if we can throw that out there in any way we can to let
Yep,
the
and we'll do it
public
in
know.
every way we can. Phone
Any way,
call,
well, yeah,
email,
yeah.
dojo.
If
Yep.
we gotta think of the old way with the plane flying
Yeah.
around the city for a couple hours,
Smoke
I think that'd be a way to
Yep.
go. Thank you.
Definitely. We don't have a finance report for the month of July, but we do have a facilities update, and Chris Murphy's going to present the facilities update today.
Good evening. We'll get right into it with some construction updates across the district. Construction has begun on the following district properties. The Orlo window replacement project began 2 weeks ago. Silver Spring window replacement project is underway. The Riverside window replacement project is underway. The Hennessy smokestack demolition is almost complete. The Martin Middle School demolition and renovation of the space that Justin had mentioned earlier is underway. Oldham Elementary classroom enhancement to receive the pre-K that's transferring there for the next 2 years is underway. We are transferring Martin Pre-K to Oldham right now. And the installation of the durable vinyl wall covering for select areas on the first and second floors at the high school has commenced as well. The open items report for the high school sits at 21 open items. It was down to 19 items, but we've added 2 issues since this last meeting. A particular note of interest from the open items report is the Musco light pole, you may have noticed at the athletic field, was reinstalled on Thursday, June 29th. The balance of repairs associated with that 30-inch drain line have started and will be taking place as we progress through July. Also, comprehensive cleaning schedules for all district properties have been put in place, are being executed now in anticipation of the start of the 2022-23 school year. That's my update. Any questions?
Chris, just a question. As soon as we get that change order with the abatement, will cost more than anticipated. Can you get that out to Sandy so we can all get that?
Yeah, we're
Do we
waiting
have a
on that
rough
number right
idea?
now. That, or as well as, you're talking about the abatement for Orlo.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. In addition to that, Mr. Ferrer, we also are going to have a change order with regard to wrapping some of the 4x4 steel columns that used to be encased within the old windows, and now with the new ones, they're out in the open. So there has to be some metal fabrication taking place, and that too will add to the cost. I don't think it's going to be extensive, but it will be very necessary. And we are awaiting that number as well. So yes, I will get both numbers to Mr. Enos and the superintendent as soon as I have them.
Okay, Sandy, can I just request that I make an appointment to go with Chris's son? Because that's where it comes in my wheelhouse. I want to see, what you're saying, Chris, is I just want to see what this option is, because when I went by the other day, there's some steel studs shown in the window and stuff, but I just want to see what you're talking about, how it got missed, who missed it, and why is this district on the hook to pay it? Not saying that I don't want to pay it, but if I sent an architect, engineers through there, I want to see to make sure that, in my opinion, to bring back to the, the school, that it was something that wasn't just overlooked. If it was originally buried, but if it was in a window section now, how did it get missed? If we're taking out 20 new windows, custom windows, they should fit back in the place of the original openings. Where is there any material that we would be on the hook to cover that was missed in the beginning? So if I can just meet with that and try to go over that with you, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee regarding the superintendent's report, or any questions specifically for Mr. Murphy?
I just want to thank the facilities department, especially Chris and Danny and Steve and Craig and Alfred. As you can see, we have a lot going on in the district right now as far as construction everywhere, and people are working extremely hard and long hours to make sure that everything is done, ready, to go when we start the school year. So I just, the teams are out cleaning buildings, and I just am very grateful for all the work that everyone's putting in to get our buildings ready for our students in August.
Very good, thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is discussion items.
We have the school budget for 2024. We are currently still working with the administration on producing or finalizing a budget for approval, but I'm opening up this time also for the superintendent to give us any updates for the committee or for the public.
Yes, we're going into our third work session tomorrow night that's open to the public. It'll be here at 6:30 in the main office conference room. Hopefully, we will have a budget completed by the August meeting, and then we'll do an overall budget presentation for everyone that the school committee can approve. But right now, we're in the middle of work sessions.
Of course, we strongly encourage city, public officials to attend. It's really informative, and we really go into the details of what goes into not just running the buildings, but the everyday cost of it as well, and the people that make this possible as well. So again, strongly encourage it. Our meeting is tomorrow again at 6:30 here in the high school. Next item, I have the proposed dress code policy. This is the same one that was presented to us the last time. Actually, I leave it up to the rest of the committee to. We can table this, or we can take a vote on it for today. I leave that up to, again, the committee. It is, excuse my last name at the bottom. Again, it's what the administration has put together, and from my understanding, from the last meeting that we had, it seemed like we were in support of it, but of course I am open to any additional changes as well, feedback. I didn't get anything. I wasn't sure if, okay. So neither of the people on the policy committee got additional feedback on it. This would only be for first passage if that's, for first read, if the committee decides to do that, but we could also just table it as well since we just got this. I just presented to everyone a copy of this right now. So again, I leave that up to everyone. Any comments or questions from the committee?
I'm okay with making a vote to approve, and then so that way at least we get the ball rolling, and then over the next month we can talk about any additional things that we may want to add or take away from it. So I'm okay with voting to approve the first read. And also too, especially because we want this to be done before the next school year.
Yes. So sorry, not for a vote tonight. Correct. Getting ahead of myself over here. That's how anxious I am to get it out.
Oh, I can read it. I'd be happy to. I read it at the last one, but I'll keep reading it as many times as you guys want. Students should be able to dress in a manner that expresses their individuality without fear of unnecessary discipline or body shaming while maintaining the integrity and safety of the school environment. Students and staff are responsible for managing their own personal distractions. In other words, they're in charge of themselves. If you don't like something, turn away. That was just my impression of it. Hoods up or hats are not to be worn in school in order to ensure safety while considering religious requirements or medical needs. Students may wear all shoes except slippers. Tops must not be strapless. They have to cover the torso, be to the belly button or longer. I think we're going to switch that too. And not have undergarments be visible. Shorts, skirts, and dresses must be visible, cover your bottom, not be pajamas, except I guess on pajama day, and not have undergarments visible. Articles of clothing may not have designs or wording which is obscene or vulgar, have designs or wording referring to illegal substances such as alcohol or drugs, and depict in any form of violence or hate speech. This was done by a group of administrators and teachers from around the district, and was a Google?
We did a survey.
A survey that went around. And this is after 4 of us spent time in a classroom with students.
Just to clarify, sorry. We met with them separately, so it was 2 school committees
sorry.
separately, not a
It
meeting
was
together.
Ryan and I who met together once.
Just in case.
And,
anyone's listening.
and so therefore, we've been, as many of you know, I've been trying to change this or trying to get it to a point where it's acceptable for students in the, 2023s, as we call it, so.
So just a comment on what you just said about the belly button or longer. The reason why I think they picked lower, and of course I'm happy to double check with them, is because longer can also be up top like a turtleneck, technically.
Okay. So obviously
So
I read
that's-
this
that's
to
why.
somebody that I know very well, and that person thought, oh, it could go. It doesn't have to, it could go.
It can go either direction.
So
Yep.
I just kind of figured,
Specify which way we want it to be longer.
I don't know how to do that. Again, I've participated with a lot of these students outside of school, dances and stuff, and they all dress appropriately on their own without having to follow a code of conduct, just like most people do. But I think we need some kind of direction, and I think after hearing about everything, I think this is a pretty good compromise. I'm sure they're going to be kids who still push it. Probably I know one, but it is what it is.
I think it was you that actually said it, that you gave me another perspective, because from a legal perspective, I'm like, you got to specify everything to the T, like detailed as possible, this item, not this item, this item, not this item. But your approach of it, less is more here for it, not being as restrictive as we want it to be. So that, I think when you said that last week, that really opened my eyes of, yeah, sometimes you don't have to specify what every single item is acceptable and what not. And it covers what is necessary, and what is necessary is, what you just read, in my perspective, but so. Are there any other comments?
Oh, yeah, so I read it, first read. There's a read.
Or questions regarding this? And of course, Jessica and I are available for any other comments or additional feedback regarding this in the meantime for the next meeting. All right. If there are no other comments regarding that, next item, please.
Next item is public comments.
While we're waiting for Sharon, I just have a question. Since we're really not reading the teachers that are getting hired for our district, are they told when that they come in front, their names come in front of us? Or now that we don't hire them, they're hired once they're done with you, are they ever told that their names could or be mentioned? Because I just remember sitting in the audience, sitting up here, and them being in the audience with their parents and stuff and being really excited. I just wanted to know if that's still happening. No, they're hired on the spot. Okay. So there's no need for them to come here, right? Or read their name out loud or any of that stuff. Okay. Thanks for, great conversation.
Ms. Tori Jessup, please.
Good evening. I want to say thank you so much for having all these budget workshops. I'm totally learning a lot, and a lot of it's going over my head, and I really appreciate all the work you do. A couple of things. The workshop meeting minutes, are those public that I can find? Because you voted to approve the minutes, but I don't know where to find them.
We'll follow.
Okay, because there were just some things I didn't get a chance to write down during some of them, so I mean, I'm sure I can ask you a question. Also, thank you for reading the dress policy, dress code policy, but this is also, I know it's the first read, is that somewhere for other parents would be, I really wish that we had more parents here, to be honest. But just so, is it public somewhere that parents can see it, like on our website? I know that we have that huge policy book in the office.
Yeah, those are approved policies.
Okay,
We
but
don't,
for working wise?
right, so the working ones have, there is no place because they're still working, it's a working document. The last time I did read it, so, or most of it, I probably didn't read the top line. But again, it's on the agenda, feel free to reach out to me.
Okay.
I have no, you know me, I have no
Yeah,
problem putting that stuff out to parents. But it is up to the committee to make the policy.
Correct.
So,
Well, I'm just saying for parent feedback, I just
Yeah.
kind of missed, I missed that boat, but it's okay.
send it to me.
Okay.
Send me your feedback,
Appreciate it.
especially for the word longer at the belly button.
I really appreciate that.
And I should read them. I think some of our policies are so long that maybe we can
Put it down
them
in
up
my
there.
version for us
Yeah.
parents to understand and the students to be able
Yeah,
to understand.
and I think maybe from now on, we can put something up there.
Yeah,
and
that would
then-
be great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and we're putting a digital copy of the presentation
Thank
up,
you.
so that will be up as soon as.
I couldn't make it last night's meeting, but
Yes.
thank you.
Oh.
As per the budget workshops, some things that I've been doing myself is digging deep into things that have been spoken about that really concerns me, that really should concern so many more parents, is this budget is so big, and I'm so thankful for everything that you guys are all doing, but I don't like having to hear how limited we are, or how limited this fictitious is, that I can't, because I can't find any evidence. So this 3.4% increase, which gives us that $2.1 million, which barely covers our $1.8 million in increases for employees, and to the point that we have 800 of those for our city, and we are still only 44% funded. So I did digging. There's nothing in our charter that limits you to that 3.4%, none whatsoever. Then I looked into the Title 44. Well, actually, let me take that back. So in the Article 10 of the Charter for Public Schools, Section 10.3, Part 5 does not limit you. It does not state anything in that whatsoever. In Title 44, Chapter 5, Section D, number 2, if the city really wants to push about this levy on you guys, actually, it's not on you, it's on them, to be honest. They need to find the money for it. Because I don't like having to hear that we have two separate budgets. One, that we have to get to that T, which I'm so thankful that Craig does that. He's amazing. But we shouldn't have to have a wish list. You know, yeah, sure, it's great to have a wish list, but throw it all in there, because our students and teachers deserve it and need it. So under Title 44, which is that maximum tax levy that someone has been quoting to you guys, that's up to the city to figure that out. And if they need to increase that, there is that exception right there in Title 44. There are exceptions to the rule, but that does not fall on your shoulders. You give them the budget that we need, include everything on that wish list, because God knows we probably need more than that, and let them figure it out, because we are well past our due money for being funded. And I appreciate this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being in attendance to our meetings, because we don't have that many people attending. All right, next item, please.
Next item is action items.
Craig. Mr. Enos, would you like to present on the
I
next one?
think the first one is the Learning Inside Out grant. So we had 3 schools that applied for a grant from the Department of Education. We received a total of $145,000. Out of that, $100,000 has been allocated for an outside learning environment at Orlo Avenue. Lisa Pita wrote a great grant. And so over the coming year, we're going to be doing some work into the courtyard space, handicap accessibility, and we'll be making that truly an outdoor learning environment. And then Silver Spring and the pre-K. I think Silver Spring was $20,000, and I think pre-K was $25,000. So really, really great. So we just need to get your vote, and then Sharon has the memorandum of agreement that needs your signature on it as well. And then since I'm up here, I'll just go. The other piece for the RFP award for the modular unit for Oldham, we needed to rent a modular unit in order to house staff who require workspace for Oldham, since we're combining the 2 programs over there. The unit is scheduled to be delivered by August 1st and will be in place for 3 years. The total rental cost, delivery, pickup, and the setup is $90,725 for the 3 years. The expense of this will be coming out of the Martin Middle School building project. Building committee approved this last night as well.
Go ahead.
Question on that trailer. Would you know when that came to light, when that this was first brought up? Was that within the last month, the last 2 months, that we needed to rent that?
It was probably about 8 weeks. I can't remember. It was a conversation that the superintendent had.
Yeah, it's space for our OT, PT, speech. It's office space because we are using what they were using for office space for classroom space when we moved. So it was in our initial discussions when we started planning out the building.
Okay, that was my first, that was all I needed to know.
Yeah.
As long as it was, because 98, call it $100,000 add-on, as long as it was planned from day one, because that was part of my question that I've asked as we go along with this. I'm totally okay if we get hit with these items, as long as they were brought on early on, they come in front of us, whether they go up or down approval. I just want to, I'm very adamant about missing large sum of money going through it. So as long as it was brought early on.
No, initially, we had talked about, before we moved everyone to Oldham and made the decisions to renovate and keep everyone in one building, we were looking for rental space in the city because we didn't know if we could fit everyone in Oldham and we needed that swing space. So I think overall, we've done pretty well that we only need some office space for our service providers. And we were able to get all of the students in classrooms. But we knew we were going to need something. We just didn't know when we initially started the discussions how much space we would need.
Okay, we're gonna move on with this before I start thinking about where I can put staff for $0. So we'll move on with this.
They still need to service students there, so we couldn't put them too far away.
Plus the parking lot. But
Thank
go
you.
ahead. Next item, please. Thank you.
All right, I'll consider a vote to approve the MOA for the Learning Inside Out Initiative SBA Capital Fund. Is there a vote? A motion, sorry.
Can I make a motion, but can I just ask about that? How did that go about? I just want to, I only know because there's another project that we, yeah, can you just, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so there was grant money available for this, what they're calling the Learning Inside Out initiative, and the principals themselves, we put all that information out, and the principals themselves applied for that grant, and then we submitted the grant as a district.
Okay, was Hez involved?
No,
Okay.
this is strictly,
That's the
no.
inside out, okay.
This is strictly at the school, doing outdoor classroom space for different purposes. And they were really excited, because they were looking, those schools were looking for this, and then this funding source came along, so it was a great opportunity, and all of the projects that we requested were funded.
Any other questions regarding the MOA? Is there a motion to approve the MOA for the Learning Inside Out Initiative SBA Capital Fund?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Well, let's say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The MOA is approved. Are there any other questions regarding any of the other items before we start going down the list, actually, for action items? Just to confirm. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2023 to 2026 Teachers Collective Bargaining Agreement pursuant and subject to the discussions discussed? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I will second with your discussions discussed.
Emphasis on subject to future additional discussions, yes. Was that a second, just to confirm?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Consider and vote to approve the revised 2023-2024 school calendar.
I make a motion to approve the fifth or sixth time we've approved the revised 2023-2024 school calendar. At no fault of our own. Like to comment on
I
that.
second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the award of the Oldham Modular Unit RFP.
I'll make a motion to approve. I did ask a lot of questions about this at last night's meeting because I make sure it's ADA and all that good stuff, so I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Item 6, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Martin Middle School Enabling Package, number 1. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a
second.
second? All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. I'll entertain a motion to approve the Waddington Elementary School Design Development, Stage 3, submission to RIDE.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Did we table that one?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
we did that one. Yes, no Waddington.
Deferred it, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, number 7.
Is there a motion to table? We
I will make a
discussed this
motion.
one extensively at the last meeting, so, and we sat in on that meeting that was, what, 3 hours long?
Is that tonight?
So, they start to mush
Yes, no-
together.
Can I make a motion to table number 7?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Sorry.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. You had to remind us, Mr. Enos. Is there a motion to approve the Riverside School 75% construction documents, FEI, submission to RIDE?
I'll make the motion.
I was gonna say, this one we did cover today. Is that a second?
Yes,
Or
yes.
who wants to take the second? I don't know.
I'll take second.
All right. All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. All righty. Next item, please.
Next item is announcements.
I just want to make a quick announcement for anybody who's watching or paying attention. The Rhode Island State PTA is looking for a president or any members that like to be on it. And I would greatly appreciate if anybody out here is watching and that would like to do it. The application can be found at the Rhode Island PTA website. Thank you.
Any other announcements from the committee?
I have an announcement. Bridgepoint Church will be holding their back-to-school fair on August 12th beginning at 9 a.m. It will be located at the high school this year due to the construction at Martin. So I believe you can get all the information you need on their website. We'll also be sending home another flyer to the entire district. But, we encourage you to come out and get the school supplies that you need.
Thank you.
I dropped that.
Any other announcements? Next item is adjournment.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All that say aye? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Have a good night.